All right, welcome to this edition of the debriefing from a township meeting for the 14th of August, 2023. The reference packet, all financial stuff I had been inquiring into recently. Normal beginning, call to order, invocation and pledge, roll call. We had 5 members because 2 have resigned, so 5 sitting board members, all in attendance, approval of the agenda, approval of past meeting minutes, treasury report, paying the bills, fire department. The fire chief thanked everyone for the village passing, and obviously, there's some disagreement because you have all the people that voted against it, but good service to have overall, and we expect to continue to prove that. Also talked about a request for a row-con, which we have a decent number of trails in the area, a decent number of trails that we cover. And some of them, even though we have an off-road vehicle, the vehicle can't get back. And so it happens that, everyone's told me about a few incidents where you can't get to the person. So they have to haul back and then load the person up and then drag them or carry them back by hand to the off-road vehicle to get that out of there so they can get them in an ambulance and taken care of. This would allow them to go on that. It's a 2-wheel drive motorcycle that pulls a trailer, and so you can get into pretty narrow spaces. That was approved. Up to $15,000, should come in a little less than that. Next, we have the Planning Commission report, Zoning Board of Appeals report, Maintenance Grounds report, all normal. I mean, the different things that are happening there, but overall normal. If you want to see them, it's posted online, go ahead. Or the video is fully posted at YouTube too. There's just a shorter, simpler version of it. Public comments, we had 1 comment about the property sale up for the proposal from the neighbor that is requesting it. It's an odd little piece of land. There was a comment at one later point that, if there's anything to do with the drain commission. I checked with the drain commissioner. She said it was completely fine on it. And she was making the case that it could be lessened to some extent because they've actually maintained it for years at this point. So that was that public comment. The other one was complaint about Johnston Road. And these are odd. They're special assessments on private roads that the township takes the special assessment money, contracts with the road commission at the county to take care of the roads. And so just complaints on that, which is kind of a weird system. But if people are having trouble with the roads, I don't think there's any hesitation now. I get contacted several times a week by people on road issues, talk to the road commission on a consistent basis. You can obviously call them yourself, or you can email or call me also, and then I get a hold of them. It's somewhat the same type of process. But for the private road specifically, if they're going to put a lot of material on there, something like that, then I think they kind of like to have me request that, since there's a certain fund balance that's working off of. Next, we have our decision items. Not going to read all the ordinance and resolution numbers. You can read them or listen to them in the meeting if you want. I read them off in the meeting just so we know what we're on. But the first one is an ordinance for group child care homes, and that ended up passing, so allowing it to be easier for child care homes to be near each other with more kids. Next was a zone change on Tyler Road that ended up passing. It's used as residential now anyways. Twin Lake Weed Special Assessment is for $50 per parcel for the year, and that ended up passing. Next were North Lake, West Lake, and Middle Lake, all separate motions, but all for 0 because there's a decent fund balance. These all end up passing. Next, there was Cat and Brock Special Assessment that ended up passing, and those were just structured at the amounts that had been calculated initially when the special assessments were put in place a couple of years ago now. And then Johnston also was passed the same. It was pointed out that I had a typo in what I'd written up. I'd written Johnston on most of that resolution, but there's 1 point that still said Cat and Brock, so I had switched out. So it was passed with that correction. Next were the ARPA fund expenditures. 2 things in here. One was the trail equipment for fire that was duplicated in here. And just because I want to have the ARPA funds covered in these resolutions that the board is passing. And then also that if anything isn't allocated within the period of time that it needs to be allocated, then it can still be used after that for roads. That way, just especially the next person coming in office, they don't have to have something missed and then having to be shuffle the money around. They can at least use it for road projects, and roads are important. Next was the land sale proposal on Middle Lake Road. This ended up being approved for $500 as a minimum bid, so we'll see that at next month. Next, we have the trustee appointments. In the end, there were 8 people, right? And so there's 5 letters in the packet, because that's the number of letters that I received by Wednesday of last week, which is when I get the packets posted and sent out and everything. And so Scott Christmas, who had announced in the last meeting, he didn't get a letter in on time because he's still waiting on a sign off from his company, which I appreciate him going through the process to properly do that. And so he ended up getting that sign off on Friday, got me a letter on Saturday. I got that emailed out to the board of trustees. And so that was one. Then there were 2 that came in yesterday, the day of. And one was William Scott, and the other one was Chris Gunn. And Gunn had said that he had emailed me twice. And he had a copy of one that said that he emailed me on July 19th, but I had never seen it. I went back, checked my emails. I don't have an email from him on that day, and I don't have anything in the spam folder from him. And so I don't know where it got lost in the electronic system, but I didn't have it. And so with the addition of those 3 and the 5 letters that we already had in the packet, that brings us up to a total of 8. We had 7 of the people in attendance, 6 of the people spoke, and the board took votes. And so we ended up with Scott Christmas, ended up being unanimous decision. 5 out of the 5 board members voted for him. And then the second motion was made for Michael Bennett, and that passed 4-1. So those are 2 new trustees. And the way those works is they're finishing out the term. So in 2024, there'll still be an election for those 2 trustee spots along with the rest of the township board. Next, we had our McCabe FOIA appeal. It was set up as a hearing. McCabe wasn't here. No one wanted to speak on it during public comment. The board ended up passing that the things I included in the packet were the documentation about service fees and whatnot that he's requesting, as far as I can tell. Next, we had a discussion item on the CPL resolution. Some different things were mentioned about safety. Nate had mentioned safety about being out on trails, like way out on the bike trail, something like that. Overall, seems like people would, so I mean, there's some disagreement on how far to go with it, but some sort of reasonable movement in the direction of making it even a little more permitted than it already is. And then in our public comment, Pago had gotten up and talked about constitutional rights for Second Amendment. And then there were particular comments from the board, I don't believe. Motion to adjourn, and the meeting concluded. So a decent amount, a lot of people in attendance. If you see the video of that meeting, a lot of people in attendance. Eventually, we're going to get these filing cabinets over here done after this remodel is completed here. And appreciate the participation. You know, I think it's unusual for trustee spots for a local municipality like this, you know, just under 10,000 people, for the population to have 8 people vying for the 2 positions. And so I think it's really good. Like to see that participation. That's excellent. I think it's actually probably a good indicator leading into the 2024 elections for the township, that there are interested candidates in the board. So excellent to see. If anyone has any questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns, feel free to email me, supervisor@daltontownship.org, or call my direct line is area code 231-332-6700. Otherwise, this is Jeff Martin signing off. Until next time.